Hey guys, Mr. Yeisley here. I'm going to be finishing up the second to last section of Chapter D notes. This is all about multiplying by powers of 10 and dividing by powers of 10. So this is really a relatively easy process. Anytime you're dealing with powers of 10, and again, we learned about that earlier, but that's like 10, 100, 1000. So basically one with a certain amount of zeros after it before you hit a decimal place. So again, 10, 100, 1000, those are the ones you'll deal with the most, but it could be 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, so on and so forth. So when we're multiplying by a power of 10, really about 3 steps to it. First thing you need to do is you need to count the number of zeros in the power of 10. So like 10 has 1 0 or 100 has 2 zeros. So you need to count those and know how many they are. Then we're simply going to move the decimal point and the number that we're multiplying by that power of 10 as many spots to the right as the number of zeros that we counted. So if we count 1 0, we're going to move the decimal point 1 spot to the right in the number. If we count 2, 2 spots to the right, so on and so forth. And you may even at times have to add zeros to the right if there aren't any. So if the number were to have ended but we needed to move it 1 more spot, we would just bring in another 0 on that side. And then last thing, we'd remove any unnecessary zeros to the left of the number if that were to happen in our final answer to have it as simple as possible. So let's look at this. We've got 3 examples here, and I apologize, forgot to label these, but this is example A, example B, and example C. So example A is 48.731 times 100. So first thing, count the zeros in the power of 10. I see 1, 2, so 2 zeros. So all I have to do now is move this decimal place in 48.731 2 spots to the right, so it's going to go 1, 2, and it's now going to be right there. So our new number, or our final answer, would be 4873.1. So 4,873 and 1/10, or 4873.1. Big thing, however many zeros there are in a power of 10 is the amount of spots that you move the decimal place. All right, so let's take a look at example B. We've got 294.72 times 10. So first thing first, count the zeros. I've only got 1, so I'm only going to move this decimal place 1 spot. So final answer, 2947.2, so 2,947.2. All right, you guys try example C on your own, and then we'll check this together. So here I see that I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. So I'm going to move the decimal point to the right 3 spots. Well, when I start to move it, I move it 1, and then I don't have any numbers after that 5. So I've got to add in a second 0 to move it, and a third 0 so I can move the decimal place to the right. So if I were to write that down here, 19500, with my original decimal place being right there, I could now move it 1, 2, 3, and that would be where the decimal point would go. So my final answer here would be 19500, so 19,500. So anytime you need to move it more spots than you have numbers, you add zeros to the right, and you can move the decimals that way. All right, that's really all there is when it comes to multiplying by a power of 10. It's all about the number of zeros in the power of 10, and that correlates to how many spots we move the decimal point. Now, dividing by a power of 10, it's very similar. So first step in that, you're going to count the number of zeros in the power of 10. Second step, we're going to move the decimal point in the number as many spots to the left, though, this time. So now it's going to move to the left, and it's going to correlate with the number of zeros in the power of 10. And then we're going to add zeros to the left as we need to. So much like that last problem, we had to add some on the right for multiplying. You may have to add them to the left. And then final answer, we're going to remove any unnecessary zeros to the right of the number to make it as simple as possible. All right, so again, forgot to label these with example A, example B, example C. So I'll do that now. But we're going to start here with example A and take a look at that. So count my power, or the zeros in my power of 10, well, I count 1, 2, 3. Well, I notice to the left there's only two numbers, so I'm going to come rewrite this as 048.7. So now I can move it 3 spots to the left, because when we're dividing it moves it left. So I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, and that's where my new decimal point goes. So I'd have 0.0487. It may ask you to have a number out in front, so it could be 0.0487. Either one is a completely correct answer. And that's all we do for dividing. Very similar to multiplying, only we're moving to the left instead of to the right. So example B, 4.793 divided by 100. That's a power of 10, so let's count the zeros. So 1, 2. So now I need to move my number, or my decimal point, 2 places to the left. Well, again, I only see there's one place value to the left of the decimal right now, so I'm going to add a 0 in here so that I can do that. So move it 1, 2, so I would end up with 0.04793. All right, example C, you try that one on your own, and then check your answer with mine. So power of 10 that's dividing is 10, so only 1 0 there. So that means I only need to move my decimal place 1 spot to the right. So that becomes 96.01. So as you can see, multiplying and dividing by powers of 10 are really fairly simple. We just need to count the amount of zeros in the power of 10, and that tells us to move the decimal place that many spots. Now, the big thing to remember is when you're multiplying, it's moving to the right. When you're dividing, it is moving to the left. Just simple things to remember. All right, well, that's all you should need for this section. So please let me know if you have any additional questions.